I don't know why you're here. You know why you're here? I know why you're here. I'll tell you. Woo! Doesn't it feel good? You'll hear a little bit about this day, but it started very early for the president, the chairman, and our athletics director. And I'll tell you, what a day. And can't wait to celebrate it in the next few minutes with all of you. I'm Brad Cheeves, and I'm privileged to serve as Vice President for Development and External Affairs here at the university. And before we get started, I'm going to introduce some individuals to you here on stage, that are those of you that are here in the audience. And then we have a simulcast going on around the world right now. And so please be mindful that we got to cheer for those folks that are on the other side of the world right now, because they're cheering. But these three individuals have worked tirelessly for so long with so many others. But first, and if you'd hold your applause, you can collectively thank them and welcome them to the podium. The president of SMU, Dr. Gerald Turner, the chairman of our board, David Miller, and the director of athletics, Rick Hart. Let's thank these three men. Woo! I also want to thank their families, each of them, their entire families, their spouses, their children have been a part of this journey with them and supported them and held them up like many of you have. And we're grateful to the family members and all of you that have been a part of all of this. I'd like to acknowledge members of our Board of Trustees, the governing board, who have been so solidly behind this pursuit. And there are members of the Board of Trustees who formed and were members of an athletics power conference task force, which worked very closely with our athletics director, the president, and of course, the chairman of the board, as we walk through this journey. And you've already met David Miller, who chaired this task force. But I'm going to say each of their names, not all of them that are here, but if you are here and I say your name, if you'd stand and remain standing till I mention. All of these are trustees and all of them are members of this task force. So I mentioned David, of course, as chair, Bill Armstrong, Mike Boone, Tucker Bridwell, Richie Butler, Kelly Compton, past chairman Bob Dedman, Marty Flanagan, Jerry Ford, Clark Hunt, Paul Lloyd, Rich Templeton, and Richard Ware. Let's thank these trustees who are been a part of the task force. And they have been wholly supported by the rest of the board. Other board members who are present with us today, Karen Prothro, if you'd stand, Reverend Paul Rasmussen, Paul, and who am I missing? Yes, oh yeah, Bruce Robson, please stand. Michael Harris, Faculty Senate President. And are there other trustees? Oh, and Linda Custard, you're right here. Yes, Linda Custard, Trustee Emeritus. Thank you. Let's thank all of our trustees. There's so many people that have done so much, but I want to acknowledge our benefactor of the current construction project that sent a lot of messages around the country. And when Gary Weber made his $50 million commitment to the Weber End Zone project, it really sent a strong message of commitment. So join me in thanking Gary Weber, who's right down here on the front. We're grateful for our Vice President and Provost, Elizabeth Laboa, and Gail Turner. Gail, would you please stand? And Elizabeth is on her way, but let's thank both of them for being a part of this today. So I've probably made this statement 100 200, 400 times, but today it seems so much more special. So will you please join me in welcoming to the podium the president of SMU, Dr. R. Gerald Turner.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank all of you for being here. It's been a great day on the hilltop. In all of my years of being president of SMU, I've never had as many emails, texts, and calls in one day as I've had today. And it's been a joy because everybody I've talked to has been unbelievably happy. And that's rare. So it's been a great day to be a Mustang on the hilltop. But very pleased to have all of you here. But we're here to celebrate that on July the 1st, 2024, SMU will join officially the Atlantic Coast Conference. All right, thank you. This obviously is a historic milestone in our institution's history, the start of a new era in SMU athletics. We've worked hard and long for this moment. When Gail and I came here in 1995, it was the last year of the Southwest Conference. Many of you remember that too painfully well. And just as we were here, we established a vision to reestablish SMU Athletics as a nationally recognized and relevant program. We didn't know any way of how it was going to occur, what conference we would get in, or whatever else. But one time, coming back from the Cotton Bowl, I told Ray and Nancy Hunt, we have got to get this on campus. I had taken them to Ole Miss and shown them the Boulevard, the Grove, and all the stuff associated with that. I said, we can do that here. We'll just have to call it something else. But we've got to bring athletics, and particularly football, back to campus. Lamar Hunt and a number of you helped in that regard to get it started, but we came up 20 million short. And in 1998, 20 million was a lot of money. And I went to see Jerry Ford on the early morning, and he agreed to do it, and therefore there was Ford Stadium. Many of you have worked since then to increase operating support for the Circle of Champions, to support our staff, in particular our coaching staff, the Vision 2025 plan and fund, and all of these have been done through the support of the Board of Trustees and many, many of you. Armstrong Fieldhouse here, great place for an announcement, a great place for an indoor performance and practice facility also. A great place for me to get my arm in shape to throw the first pitch out for the ball game that about 2 weeks ago. But Armstrong Fieldhouse was another important peg in this particular effort to try to make sure that we could communicate this kind of facility. Washburn Stadium is just right outside. Moody Coliseum had to be renovated. It was done 10 years ago. The most important particular event, as we talked to people, was the pictures we could show of the Gary Weber End Zone Complex, and that it was under construction, and we wouldn't start it if we didn't finish it. And the fact that all of the people that have been involved with that, the Armstrongs and many others, have been involved with that significantly, and we have a ways to go. So we'll finish that before long. These projects resulted from a long-term strategic plan to try to come to this date. 2 years ago, we formed the task force that Brad mentioned, with David's chairing it. But over the past 6 months, the work of that subcommittee has gotten really intense because of how things were occurring. We didn't know what particular conference would be amenable to expansion, but we knew we wanted to be ready. And so a lot of calls needed to be made and a lot of attention had to occur. And so Rick Hart would call all the ADs I would be calling and talking with all of the university presidents, and David Miller would be talking to trustees and other influencers of various athletic programs. And one of the things that was important, of course, was that we had the opportunity to see them. And David burned a lot of aviation fuel in making sure that we had the opportunity to visit with whomever we wished to visit. The second great thing about the ACC is its academic quality. And I want to thank the faculty and all of you that have really contributed not only to the programs but the scholarships that have brought outstanding students and faculty here, because I tell you, we would not have gotten in the ACC 20 years ago with who SMU was at that time in terms of our academic quality. They went through nearly everything. And the increase in our academic quality that most of you have brought about was something that was important to them. And so not only all these athletic facilities, but also the quality of the academic programs has been important to them just as it's important to us. And I mentioned that David Miller provided the inspirational leadership to this. We had many, many meetings, and as a result, he was involved many countless hours. But the most crucial pursuit of this goal had to have a board leader. And fortunately, we couldn't have had a board leader more strongly and more crucially than David Miller. David?
Thank you. As I've said many, many times throughout this process, this is not about me, and I hope you know that in my heart that's how I feel. This is about the future of this university and nothing more. But thank you, President Turner. This is truly a huge and thrilling day for SMU. We're finally back where we belong. I've been tingling ever since my phone rang at 6:20 this morning, and Gerald informed me that he'd gotten a call from Jim Phillips, the ACC commissioner, formally inviting us to join their conference. And I want to share with you briefly a very special call I received shortly after that. David, this is President Bush. Words made it up to Kennebunkport, Maine, that SMU's been invited to join the ACC. Congratulations, my friend. This is an unbelievable accomplishment. When the history of SMU is written, this will be one of the university's finest moments. I think that says it all, doesn't it? Yeah. As you've heard, we decided several years ago to be much more proactive and intentional in our efforts to gain Power 5 conference status. We were convinced that there would continue to be reshuffling and realignment within some of the leagues, largely connected to renegotiation of their media contracts. And we believed at the time potentially we could be a candidate to join 3 conferences. But I want to be crystal clear about something. And that was from the get-go, we thought that if we were ever so fortunate as to have a choice, it would be the ACC. So here we are today, a new member of one of the top 3, remember what I said, one of the top 3 collegiate athletic conferences in the United States. An absolute powerhouse football conference that's won 3 national championships in the past decade, and without a doubt, the premier basketball league in the country that's claimed 7 out of the last 15 NCAA tournament championships. And I firmly believe that the conference just got stronger, a lot stronger, with the addition of the SMU Mustangs. And I should add Dallas, Texas. Can you imagine what the atmosphere is going to be like in Ford Stadium and Moody Coliseum? But I also want to say to you, and just frankly reiterate what Gerald said a few minutes ago, and I believe this so strongly, and it's been part of our motivation from the beginning, that this transformational move will do much more than just enhance SMU athletically. Being in the same fraternity and rubbing shoulders consistently with some of the absolute and very finest academic institutions in the country is going to reposition the way this university is perceived academically at a national level. I've actually had 4 of our deans text me or call me today thanking me for enhancing their ability to attract the top quality students. That, again, that kind of says it all. And we all know what this is going to do for Rhett and Rob and the other coaches, and I believe it's going to energize this city around SMU athletics. One of the keys in this endeavor was convincing people that we were absolutely committed to athletic success at the very highest level. That's clearly exhibited in our facilities, our athletic budget, the way we compensate our coaches, the dollars we spend to take care of our student athletes, their welfare, and most importantly, the trajectory of our football and basketball programs. The $100 million end zone project at Ford Stadium, as Gerald said, this is repetitive, but I'm going to say it again. The strength of our NIL initiative, that ranks right up there with the majority of the Power 5 conferences already, were further selling points in demonstrating this university's level of commitment. As several of the conference commissioners said to us, you already do everything like a Power 5 school. And beneath all that are many of you in this crowd that believed in SMU athletics and continued to invest heavily in its future. This opportunity simply doesn't happen without the generosity of people like this gentleman sitting here in front of me, Gary Weber, or Bill and Liz Armstrong, or the Washburns, or the Robsons, or the Flanagans. So the incredible donor support we've had over the past decade, and frankly, more recently, the underwriting that's come together in support of this initiative were differentiators for us and made a very large impression on the Pac-12 and the ACC. As Jim Phillips, the ACC commissioner, said to us recently, you simply have no peer in terms of our pool of expansion candidates. So enormous thank you goes out to all of you. Before I sit down, I've got just a few people that I'd like to thank and recognize. First, I want to extend my sincerest appreciation to President Turner for working so diligently on this effort. This is just a piece of his job description, and he spent an enormous amount of time on it over the course of the last 2 years. We've had what's proven to be a very effective partnership, and I'm thankful for that. I can't tell you how many calls he's made to other university presidents, and believe me, no one sells SMU better than Gerald Turner does. I want to thank Rick for his hard work with the AD community. The ADs had major influence, needless to say, in the decision-making process at every university, and Rick's been a great partner as well. I also want to thank my wife. I can't tell you how many hours she spent listening to me on conference calls or on speakerphones talking to these folks around the country over the past 18 months, and she's my greatest partner and the love of my life. And lastly, I want to say, in addition to our task force members, I want to extend my appreciation to our entire 42-member board. Big board that I'm going to tell you from top to bottom coalesced around the importance of this effort. I felt it all along the way, and I know President Turner did, and so I'm thankful for that. So it's time to party and celebrate. Pony up.
I want to welcome Mr. Sewell. Thank you for being here today, sir. Another of the many shoulders we stand upon. Thanks so much. there's not a lot more to say. I'm going to be brief, but what a special day. I'm so fortunate and privileged to be able to be a part of this. I want to add to all the thanks. We've got some student athletes here today in the crowd, staff. We've got former student athletes that I see dispersed throughout the crowd. We've got some of our coaches here. Our cross-country team is on the way back, where we just had a really strong performance. Women's soccer's coming off of a win last night. We had a hat trick, and they'll play at Texas on Sunday, so they're not here. Men's soccer plays at Denver tonight, and they're ranked 9th in the country. And then when I see Rhett, I just see plays going through his head. It's like there's a bubble that says we have to play Louisiana Tech tomorrow at 11 a.m. So I appreciate you being here. Coach Lanier, again, there may be others, but really exciting time for everybody in our athletics department. It's been said, but it's because of every single person. The spirit squads are here, the band's here. Thank you guys for being here on a class day, on a Friday afternoon. But what makes today special, and it's been touched upon, is today doesn't happen without it's the cumulative efforts and effects of actions and generosities, both large and small, over a long period of time that made today possible. It literally took every single person inside and outside Armstrong Fieldhouse to deliver an invitation to the ACC, and that makes it incredibly special. And we have a great story to tell institutionally, athletically, and in the city of Dallas because of that. Somebody asked me in one word what made this possible, and I said alignment. And President Turner and our board have been aligned for over 3 decades in pursuit of this goal and this mission, and many of you have been along with them as well. And we already knew this, but I'll tell you, one thing that was reinforced today is if you want to accomplish big things, you ride with the Mustangs. And I'm blessed every day to ride with the Mustangs I get to be around. We got a lot of work to do, we know that, but as David said, it's time to celebrate, it's time to party. Get your season tickets now. You better get in line for next year for football and men's basketball. Let's not wait. Let's get this thing cranking tomorrow at 11 a.m. at Ford Stadium. We're going to enjoy our final year in the American Athletic Conference. We're going to win with class, and we're going to do it with you, and we're going to do it with Dallas, and we're going to take every opportunity to bring more championships right here to the Hilltop this year. So if you will join me, pony up.